we announce some cast, starting with Josh Lucas. Chardae Robinson. Dern. Just looking at this group, but also there's a lot of people that also are not here today. We have to mention Allison Janney, Laura Dern, Ricky Martin. I mean, this cast goes on forever. Can you talk a little bit about casting this ensemble and how you did this?
Oh, gosh. Well, we're just so happy everybody said yes. We'll start there. We have a wonderful casting director named Carrie Martin, who's just amazing. I think when, just kind of coming out of the gate, with Laura Dern as an executive producer, it just gives the show in premature of class and what we were going for artistically. And so as the script is going out and with her attached as executive producer and Tate as our director of our pilot, it gets people's attention. And then hopefully people respond to the material. No, none of these people are going to do a show that they don't like the script. They'll say, we love you, but no, so we're, and so, when Kristen read it, we had a few meetings and sort of the rest is history. And then it was sort of this kind of cavalcade, this sort of avalanche of talent of people who said we want to get in that sandbox and play. So we built a rep company, I think.
We're so glad everyone came to play and everyone brought their A game for this, for sure. Tate, obviously setting the very unique tone of this is so important with a pilot. So how did you kind of approach that from a directing standpoint?
Well, we had a phenomenal script. That is usually the best part, not having to fix something like that. But you really, for me, is you have an idea of the tone. But with the rock stars that we all have up here, you have to allow the show or the movie to show you what it's going to be and kind of turn into. You just can't grasp on to have a scene. I called Abe all the time on my cell phone going, she's doing this thing. And we would fix it. But I just really trust my actors, I always have. And as a director, if you trust your departments, who are all the best, to just do their work and not get into their business, you can focus on the scenes and the actors and really nuancing it all. And I just love to, it's fun to kind of create and set the tone. It's absolutely a blast.
Kristen, how much of it was on the page versus what you brought to Maxine? Because she has some of the most epic lines, but also the way you deliver them makes them how epic they are. So how much of that was you versus them?
The scripts were amazing. I'm gonna give a lot of credit to the writers. Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of time to like improvise that much. I mean, maybe things here and there. I mean, you guys can speak to that, but it didn't feel like there was a lot off the page. I think in creating the character, definitely, you know, spoke with these guys and tried to figure out who she is and how I would deliver those lines, but the writing was so good and like juicy. Right word? Yeah, we just all felt really lucky. The writing was amazing.
I think something that people really connect to with Maxine is that she's an underdog and trying to find her place, which anyone.
But she doesn't know she's an underdog.
Right.
She doesn't think she is at all.
No. But I think it's something that no matter what stage of life you're in, you can relate to. How did you kind of find that connection to her?
I mean, there was something really fun for me about playing someone who was so positive and really glass half full, even though she's wanting these things that are seemingly very shallow. So you kind of are conflicted a little bit, which I really liked playing that, where it's like the audience, I might be on my side, but I'm also kind of despicable a little bit. Just the hints of it. But that was really fun to play because ultimately you want the audience to root for her. So we had to really find how we got her there.
Yeah, absolutely. Leslie, kind of on the opposite end of that, because your character is in such a different world than Maxine is. How did you kind of get into that and tap into her?
God, I don't know. I think when I started, well, there's a certain thing, the writing, it's there on the page, so as soon as you get it, you start walking onto that court, you sort of know and it forms. Getting to be opposite Kristen, because she was my scene partner for a lot of it, because we're sort of at each other. I don't know, it's just easy to act with her. The first thing I did is I started delving into Slim Aarons and Barbara Perkins. And there was this Barbara Perkins interview that I saw from like 1969, and she was going to do Valley of the Dolls, and there was just something so informative about the way she was speaking to the interviewer that I was like, oh, there's Dinah. There she is. And so that's where I just sort of started and then went from there.
Carol Burnett, I'm going to say your full name because every time anyone... Obviously, your character starts off comatose and unable to speak.
Dropped her mic. It's Carol Burnett!
How much, and what was the process for you to really dive into the physical comedy? Because in the beginning, of course, she's not speaking. So how was that for you? Because obviously it's...
Well, it was very easy. I mean, you get up at 5 in the morning, and you go to the set, and you go into your trailer, you get made up, and then put your costume on, and go right back to bed.
A dream job.
No, I mean, so, but I have fun doing that, I have to say. And then when she started to come out of the coma, she could not really form the words. So our directors kindly said, well, just do gibberish. So I love that, because all I did was gibber. I had a lot of fun. You let me do that. You encourage that. So, but I have to say, when I first got the call about, what I consider being in this wonderful show, I had no idea until they said Kristen Wiig, Laura Dern, Allison Janney, Ricky Martin, Joshua, Leslie Bibb. I said, I'm in. I don't care what you want me to do. I'm in. And so I hadn't even read the script. Then I read the script, and then boy was I in. I loved it.
To her credit, I'm not going to let you get away with it. The first day we worked together, she was in a full-on coma. And I'm like, how am I going to direct her? What I can say? And she said, I have an idea. And I said, I don't even know. Don't even know what it is. And she did this thing with her eyes.
Oh.
Light twinkle of your eyes. and it broadcasts.
I mean, can't ask for a better, I feel like on both ends, can't ask for something better. Bruce, for you, what was it like having your on-screen daughter be portrayed by your real daughter? And of course, I want to know how you kind of got attached. I assume she just called you up and said, hey, Dad, you want to come play? But it was your first time working together.
In essence, I'm an employee of my daughter's. And we had never worked together, ever. And we felt that would be a good time to start it. And I said, well, if we do it, let's do it in such a way that they're peeking in the window, watching something they shouldn't be watching. And that's what I write. I like that about all the 10 episodes, is that it looks like we're catching people off guard. And that's what makes the fluidity of the whole thing go. And this woman here, Miss Wiig, I mean, she's already a relic and doesn't even know it. And I'm sitting next to a relic, I was thrilled to be included, and I thought that there's two things I noticed. First of all, it's the tallest bunch of women I've ever seen. I mean, these are big people. And secondly, it was an opportunity to get a comradeship among a crew and cast that I saw something on this I'd never seen in my career, and that was that when Laura and I were doing our scenes, the crew never left the set. They always stayed to see, well, is this chemistry worth a shit or not? You know, I mean, are we seeing, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to, and to the writers and everybody else, they created an atmosphere where they dared us to risk every single day. And their ability to write beginning, middle, and end to 20 characters, I'd not seen done in television before. So, all you guys.
Yeah, and I have to give kudos to you guys. I also have to say I don't know how anyone got any work done, because I feel like I've laughed more already on this panel than I have in any panel I've done. So I don't know how you guys got through that. Josh, I want to talk about your character a little bit, because Maxine had kind of painted such a conflicting narrative of who she was, that when we meet you, we're not sure if it's real, if what's happening. So how did you kind of go about building that?
I think what I'm struck by is that all of the actors here, because you're playing with such extraordinary talent, and that everyone is tracking their own performances. You look at what Carol did, and she knows where she's going to end up, right? If you, not to give anything away with the 10th episode, but that's a really crazy, remarkable arc, in particular when you're performing it almost entirely silent and pieces of it in a coma. But she's doing it, you know, very, very pointedly, as is Kristen, and everyone has these, like, you know, sort of bellwether moments throughout the script that they know that, so there's a lot of Easter eggs, I think, that people are planting. And so for me, and the discussions we had, is like, is Douglas real? And then, you know, the fantasy of Douglas in the beginning, which hopefully people think is like, you know, something that's not real for her, but then clearly you watch this character kind of descend. But the whole thing is like that, like everyone is descending into something. And I've heard Abe say some expressions about this show that I've never heard before, that Apple gave us a mission of maximalism. And there's something about that in all of the characters, that there's this mission to be in every way something that is not possible to be created by AI or ChatGPT, and the performances all have this kind of radical messiness, you know. And I take the 6th episode of Bruce's character and what that almost standalone episode is, which is an homage to Laura and Bruce, and it's like in its own world in this most beautiful, like, hallucinatory way on purpose. And I felt at times where I was listening to Bruce Dern, you know, talk about life. And I think that's what these guys are consistently searching for as writers, is to take this group of crazy talent and just not just splatter it across the board, but take the essence of these soulful people like Ricky and, you know, all the different characters, and find something that is their color, that their bright, beautiful color, and do it in a very honest and heartwarming way. And just, it's such a moving show to be a part of at every level.
Do you guys want to the Apple kind of, that stood out to me, that little tidbit. So if you want to talk a little about that.
I guess in this world where you're able to churn out a script from a machine, I told the writers, you know, I want to feed our scripts to the machine and break it. That they won't know what to do with us when a whale washes up on shore.
And they didn't.
And Allison Janney falls in love with it, and then the twist is Kristen's going to coax it back into the ocean by speaking its language. So I'm hopeful that the whatever that machine is out there that's pulling from our scripts and stealing from us, I hope we feed it that one and break it forever.
Absolutely. Kaia, I want to kind of going off of what Josh said a little bit. How early on did you know? And again, I don't want to spoil too much, but I know that most people in the room have watched most of the episodes. How early on did you know the arc of your character and the fate of her going forward?
Well, Tate gave me a call right when I found out I had booked the job, and I was sort of in disbelief, and through mischievous laughter told me where my character would be ending up, and I was shocked and horrified and incredibly excited to play Mitzi, this really optimistic, in a lot of ways naive person, and kind of see the journey that she goes on and how she finds herself and her strength in this backdrop of very complex characters in very complicated social dynamics.
Yes, absolutely. You can clap for me, right? And Amber, kind of going to you also, I feel like Virginia is such an important part of this show and such an important part of her feminist group that she is in. I'm curious what it was like for you, kind of showing that sisterhood within this group of stellar talent also, but also creating this inside of the show.
It was really fun. I had a chance to bond with my castmates. I got a chance to bond with Laura, Kristen, and even the ladies in the bookstore. We even have a group chat called Our Bodies, Our Shelves, which is so I guess you could say we really did form a sisterhood. We're really excited about this show, really excited about the message that is sending to people, and hoping that people are receiving it in the ways that we intended.
100%. I have to ask you guys who, I feel like I might know the answer, but maybe not. Who was making people laugh the most on set? Whether it was intentional or not.
While they were performing?
Either way, I mean, who?
Probably Carol. I mean, not probably, definitely.
There's speaking of improvisation, there's a scene at the end of episode 4, and there were just a few lines on the page, and I don't usually do cross coverage, but it was the first time that Carol was going to be fully awake in a scene with Kristen, and I said, let's do cross coverage, get one camera on Carol, one camera on Kristen, and let them play. And so the end of episode 4, for those who haven't seen it, where Carol's trying to say revolver and not making herself understood, it was so thrilling, you know, for the crew. We could not keep it together as these two were volleying back and forth, and it was like this thing that was inevitable in the world that was going to happen, that these two ladies get to play together in that way. And I feel like that for us, that was one of those days where people were having a hard time really keeping it together. Yeah.
Really, it's all the cast. I'm famously ruined takes of my own by laughing before I've said cut. That happened quite a bit.
I mean, not here. Julia Duffy makes everybody scream.
Oh my God.
And the crew pees their pants on all of her takes. Maybe Cohn, the same. And you know, Allison Janney. It's just it's unbelievable.
Embarrassment of riches you have there. Kristen, were you going to say something?
Oh no, I was going to say with that scene that was definitely one of those moments that is burned into my brain, that I got to have that time to just play with one of my heroes who inspired me so much to do what I do, and I still can't believe she did the show and that we got to work together. But those moments where we got to like really connect and like improvise a little bit, it was honestly like a dream come true for me.
Carol, did you want
to add anything?
They were close. They were close.
Yeah. Did you like doing that scene?
One time.
I did most of my scenes with Kristen and Ricky, but I have to say too, I mean, everybody scores. It's so wonderful. You know, everybody has a moment or two or more. However, the last episode, when Kristen loses it, is a master class in acting. I have never seen anything like that. I mean, if it was a movie, you'd be up for an Oscar, so it'll be, dust your mantelpiece off. I mean, really. So I just
Bruce, can we talk a little bit about working so closely with Allison and kind of how it was forming that relationship that you guys had on stage or on the show? Yes.
What was the question?
Just working so closely with Allison Janney and kind of what it was like forming that relationship.
First of all, Allison Janney. I've been doing this 68 years, so I have never seen a performance by an actress any better than she was in I, Tonya. If you know her and you look at that performance, you think, where does that come from? And that's the key to this entire show and the way they've cast it. There is never once you don't feel you're watching conversation. Even though it's a lot of awkward stuff, and the very first thing I was ever left with was when Allison turns to her and says, I don't like you very much, Max. I suddenly felt the show was in good shape from there on. Because it was, and that's all the writing, the ambience, however the writers' rooms went or anything like that. It's that you guys would give us the opportunity to embellish on what you've done without ever seeing it ahead of time, particularly with me. I mean, hopefully you've seen stuff I've done, but that's not the point. The point is that it's a collective, and if there's one thing we can do, both as you guys and us, we gotta keep the people coming to the theaters. And at times, this particular piece of material, no matter what episode you plug into, as a whole, looks like, you use the word masterclass, it looks like we've been together 3 years. And I'd never met you know, I mean, I didn't meet the people. I was here on a pass, you know. But I just think that somehow, and this includes the crew, I never heard a bad word. I never saw a temper. I never saw an ego. It just, like you said earlier, everybody was there about the work.
I would have to say, Kristen, Tate, Abe, that also starts at the top. So I would assume that that comes from you guys. So you deserve a little extra kudos there. I want to ask you guys about, obviously the look of this series is so beautiful, and I kind of want to know what inspiration you had and what TV and film you would watch to kind of get some of these ideas.
Well, John Carlos is a genius, our production designer, and Alex Friedberg, our costume designer. I mean, this is a very very specific time and place, and not one that's really been seen on television. Like, we've seen the 60s done, but like Palm Beach in the 60s. And to be able to do it without making fun of it, to see the beauty in it, and, you know, in these large embellished spaces, with our actors wearing sometimes 5 wigs, you know, clipped together, and the clothes are so vibrant, and you never lose the people. And that is a real testament to John and Alex's design skill, is that the faces still pop against all of the crazy that's going on around them. And so, you know, that Slim Aaron's photography, for sure. I mean, tonally, for me, my greatest hero is Pedro Almodovar, and, you know, our show owes a lot to him in that it's a soap opera, it's a thriller, it's a comedy, it's physical comedy, and then it tries to break your heart, and then wild magical things happen, and we don't see that in English a lot. Right? Like, we love that, you know, when it's like a foreign film takes these flights of fancy and whimsy. And so, you know, there is kind of like what I like to say, sort of like an overarching sort of queer aesthetic, where you take the pastiche of pop culture and theatricality and all these influences of the past and put them through a blender and make something new. And I think Kristen is in particular, so skilled at that. It's not, she is a once-in-a-generation performer. I think, I'm going to talk about you that you're not here. I think she's Charlie Chaplin. That, you know, that she's able to get you to laugh your ass off and then turn around and make you cry in the next moment. And that's not everybody can do that.
I want to add and point out our costumes, besides costumes and John Carlos, is our hair and makeup department. Those wigs are often characters in themselves. And they also went with the collaborative spirit of each department.
I want to also ask about the trip you took with John Carlos before, because you took a trip, yes, with.
Oh yes, the trip.
Yes. So how did that kind of inspire this look? Because
well, I was stubbornly insistent that we shoot as much as we could in Palm Beach. So I said, John Carlos says, well, I've never been because I've never been. So we went there, immediately found out that there is no filming in Palm Beach, nor has there ever been, ever, except CNN in front of Mar-a-Lago and all that stuff. And so we walked the streets and we got the vibe of the ladies, and it's exactly, it's what you saw is there, is a time capsule. And there's a club there called the Everglades that we modeled Palm Royale after, where it's impossible to get in. And I said, John, I was in board shorts and flip-flops. I said, we're going in there, damn it. He goes, we can't go in there. I said, I'm going in there. And I snuck around to a service entrance.
Oh my God, you're Maxine.
I was. I walked in, and it was opulent and beautiful. Everybody was drunk and in $20,000 outfits. And I felt 2 hands on each shoulder. And I was kicked out of the Everglades Club, just like her.
As we wrap up, I want to ask each of to say what character trait or what personality trait you would want to take from your character. Because I feel like, while some are very conflicted, but there's a lot of really, really strong traits in each of these characters. So, Josh, I'm going to start with you.
I love so much that Douglas, I think, totally, deeply, and completely loves Maxine. I think no matter what he does, that's the core of it. And I'm always bashing these guys who are like, keep that, keep that, keep that. Because that to me is where I really believe he feels she saved her, and they saved each other. And that's my thing about him. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem.
Amber?
I think I would like to take Virginia's grace. She has a lot of grace for these people. She really does. She really does have a lot of grace, especially with Maxine. And I think walking through life today in 2024, if we have a lot more grace for people who are different than we are, they come from different places, they have different experiences, I think a lot of healing would happen. So yeah.
I think I would take from Dinah her tenacity. Yeah, I would think an ounce of that, and her Rolls Royce.
100%. Kaia, what about you?
I think I would take Mitzi's radical optimism and her fierce dedication to trying to do the right thing, even when it is challenging.
Bruce, what would you take from Skeet? What personality trait? What personality trait would you take from Skeet?
Couldn't hear what you said.
When it comes to the character of Skeet, what kind of characteristic that he had would you want to take into your own life?
Well, I think the fact that when I began for about 20 years, I never had more than 5 lines in a movie. Never kissed a girl unless I broke her nose or something like that. And what I liked about the freedom that I had in this particular thing is Laura and I were talking private stuff. And yet it never appeared like that to us, because that's who we are. We talk about the danger zone before we talk about the happy zones, you know. And that's what I like about the effort of these people that made Palm Royale go, and the way they individually cast people that are opposites, so that the friction is there the minute she comes on the stage. I mean, and Allison, you know, when she comes out, she's going to think everybody's a piece of shit. But what I like about the whole show itself is that it's all about, what about me? How can I fit in here? There must be some place for me. They got every other scoundrel in town in the goddamn place. So what is it? And I just enjoyed that, especially when I was there for a little time with the people. I mean, it was a pleasure and a treat to be included in this ensemble.
Carol, what do you want to take from Norma?
First of all, I don't know who she is. I mean, is she Agnes? Is she Norma? So that's very interesting for me. And I think Norma, she wants to live forever. She doesn't want to give up anything for anybody. And I think that's who she is. Can't wait to see anything further.
All right, Kristen, last one. what do you want to take from Maxine?
God, bringing it home. I think her inability to see obstacles. Like she just, or just, yeah, and that's really hard because sometimes things get tough or maybe the easiness goes away and you're just like, oh, I don't know. And I wish I had that. She just keeps going. Doors in her face and all. She just keeps going.
Nothing's holding her back.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.